What's going on, everybody, and welcome to GNR Central. And today we're talking about the things you may have missed in the Dead Horse music video. Now, let's start with the first clip of Dead Horse. You see Axl wearing, of course, the Charles Manson shirt, which is something he wore pretty much throughout the entire Skin and Bones tour. There was maybe a handful of times he didn't wear a Charles Manson shirt. The most notable time was probably when they played Argentina, their last show, and he was seen wearing a soccer shirt. Now, the other thing you'll notice, he's wearing Guns N' Roses shorts. Now, it wasn't uncommon sometimes for Axl to wear Guns N' Roses merch on stage. He's shown wearing GNR merch in the Live and Let Die video as well. And sometimes their merch that would be made specifically for the band and crew members was made by Donatella Versace. Now, unlike a lot of Guns N' Roses videos before Dead Horse, this video was not directed by Andy Moorhan, who had done all the trilogy videos. He did Yesterdays, he did Garden of Eden. The guy who was directed this video is a guy named Luis Marciano. Now, he was thanked by Axl when the band won the 1992 Video Music Awards. He also helped direct the Don't Cry video, and he's interviewed on the Making Effing Videos video that they did for Don't Cry and the behind the scenes look. Now, another thing you may or may not know about Dead Horse is that it was never officially released as a single, even though a video was made for it, but it was issued to radio stations in 1993 as a 5-inch CD radio promo. Now, a lot of the footage you see in the Dead Horse video is not all live footage of them performing the song Dead Horse. Dead Horse wasn't played really at all in 1992, and there's a lot of shots of 92 in this video. And then there's also a few times they played it in 1991 before the Use Your Illusion records came out. Now, one funny thing you'll notice is that Axl and Slash seem to be sharing the same wardrobe in the video. Both Axl and Slash from time to time would wear fishnet shirts. You'll also notice that there's a few moments of censorship in the video. So at the beginning of the video, you'll see Slash wearing a shirt that's textured out or tiled out, and then later on Axl holds up a shirt that a fan threw on stage, and you can see that one word is tiled out as well. Now, one of the coolest parts of the Dead Horse video is the helmet cam footage. So you may be wondering, where exactly was this footage taken from? So it's all taken from the same show. It was from a show that happened when Guns was on tour with Metallica. They'd played Kansas City, and during the show, Axl told the crowd he'd be wearing a camera on his head for a music video. He never announced a music video it would be for, but of course it would end up being in Dead Horse. There's also two scenes shown where fans throw stuff on stage and Axl picks up what appears to be food. The first one is from an early 91 show during some of those club dates that Guns N' Roses was probably doing, or may have been even the Inglewood shows at the Forum that Guns N' Roses were playing. The second one is taken from Turin, Italy, where a fan throws some food on stage and Axl actually picks it up, opens it up, and eats it. One of the other shows that appears to be used in the Dead Horse video is possibly the Dayton, Ohio show, where Axl cuts his hand opening early on in the set during It's So Easy. You can see Duff giving the middle finger, which he typically would during It's So Easy. And you can see Axl clutching a towel in his right hand where he likely cut his hand on the broken mic stand. There's another show where Slash is seen wearing a Superman t-shirt. I've seen a couple photos that Slash did as a photo shoot where he's seen wearing the exact same t-shirt. Another scene shows Slash playing You Could Be Mine because he's playing that BC Mockingbird guitar of his. And you can see he's wearing a pork pie hat as well as a blazer, which he'd wear from time to time. I think that was something more he'd do on the European leg of the Use Your Illusion tour. So if you guys have been following Slash on the Not in This Lifetime tour, you'll know that he always does a handstand at the end of each show. Well, this is something that dates back to the Use Your Illusion days. There's a scene of him doing a handstand in front of Axl during one of Guns' 92 shows. What's also cool about the video is that there's some behind the scenes footage. There's some rehearsal footage where Axl actually shows up to rehearsal, and one can assume this footage was taken for the Perfect Crime documentary. And you can see Axl playing the guitar, you can see Slash playing the guitar, you can see Duff and Axl interacting, and there's even a scene at the end of the video where you see Slash sitting in what appears to be his hotel room surrounded by empty liquor bottles and recording some new music. Now, the next scene we see Gilby Clarke and Slash playing a double neck guitar, which he typically never played on Dead Horse when they did it live. And then Gilby's wearing a Ramones shirt, and the same Ramones shirt you see him wearing in Robert John's 1994 photographic history book. Actually, that's my bad. It's 1993 that his book came out. The documentary Photographic History came out in 1994. Now, going back to Axl playing the acoustic guitar at the beginning of the song, you'll notice that he's playing a Fender. You can notice the guitar strap says Fender on it, which is kind of funny because Slash would play a Fender from time to time. Even yesterday's was recorded on a Fender guitar. If you guys saw the making of effing videos for November Rain, you'll see Slash playing a Fender there as well. There's another cool scene where you'll see Slash and there's like a bright light in the back and you'll see him spitting into the air. Now, I don't know if he was drinking on stage or whether that was water. Now, the next thing you may not have noticed, which I found really odd, I could never find any background information on why Axl did what he did, but there's a scene where he's wearing white gloves on stage, and I don't know if it's because he found something. There was one show where Guns N' Roses played in 1993 where Axl was, I think it was in Vancouver or in Omaha somewhere, and somebody threw a condom on stage and he picked it up on stage and said, "I found a condom." The other thing you may not have noticed is that at one point Slash is seen wearing a sombrero, and I think he was years ahead of Elaine Bennis from Seinfeld when he came up with the idea for the urban sombrero. Turning now to the next scene you may not have noticed, I think this one is taken from Prague in the Czech Republic when Guns played there in 92. You can see in the background there's that giant inflatable monster from the front cover of Appetite for Destruction. We see in another scene Axl wearing a shirt that says St. Louis Sucks, referring to the St. Louis riot that happened probably the year before in St. Louis, Missouri. The next scene, you'll see Axl running and then falling. This is from Guns N' Roses' first ever show in Lisbon, Portugal, back in the summer of 1992. It was early on the set. Axl was running towards the stage. He fell during It's So Easy and proceeded to play the entire song on his back. Some people who were from the audience thought it was a bit rude, and Axl got criticized in the media for performing that way. The other thing you may not have noticed, and Axl does this in Live and Let Die as well, is that there's a scene of him jumping into the audience. Now, the Guns N' Roses played a show in Maryland back in early 91 before the Use Your Illusion albums came out. Axl jumped into the audience to stop a brawl that was going on between security, who was being quite aggressive against the audience. And there's another scene in Dead Horse where you can see Axl in the audience trying to get out, and that scene is actually on the back of Live Air. There's a photograph there. You see Axl surrounded by members of the audience. The other thing you may not have noticed is that Axl in one scene is seen wearing our Marlboro shirt. So if you guys have ever seen the Noblesville, Indiana show that's up on YouTube, Axl wore a Marlboro shirt for most of that concert. And at one point during the early part of the Use Your Illusion tour, it was rumored that they would be actually being one of the sponsors on the tour. Now, it wasn't clear whether that happened or not. Now, a lot of fans always think of the Live and Let Die video when they think of Axl wearing an NWA hat. But there's a quick second where you can see Axl with his back turned and he's wearing an NWA hat. And it's funny because NWA was a band that could have opened for Guns N' Roses, but their manager wanted more money than what Guns N' Roses was offering them. So unfortunately, they never opened for Guns N' Roses. And Axl was a huge fan of NWA. In fact, it was rumored that NWA and the members of Guns N' Roses minus Axl recorded a song together, but it has never been released and probably will never be released. And there was an interview that Axl gave in 2006 where he talked about how Guns N' Roses were pretty much kind of like posers compared to the guys from NWA who grew up in a neighborhood where you could literally get shot walking outside your door. Now, I've always found this scene in the Dead Horse video kind of weird. There's a scene at the end there where a guitar tech is handing Gilby guitars and he keeps rejecting them. But the guy handing him guitars is wearing a Killing Joke shirt. So Killing Joke was like a punk rock band back in the early days. And what you guys may not know is one of Killing Joke's members, Martin Youth Glover, or Youth as he's known as, was one of the producers on Chinese Democracy. And Killing Joke actually opened a show for Guns N' Roses during their Not in This Lifetime tour this past summer in Europe. And another thing you guys might not know is I'm one of the few people who's actually interviewed Youth about Chinese Democracy. So if you guys go search Martin Youth Glover interview, you'll see my interview probably at the top of the search queue. I chatted with him for about 20 minutes about Chinese Democracy, and he gave some interesting insight into what it was like working with Axl. He was only there at the beginning back in 1998, and he is credited with helping arrange the song Madagascar. And finally, the last thing you may or may not have known, and I've read this somewhere a long time ago, but the scenes of Matt Sorum in the bar towards the end of the video are apparently shot in early 93 when Guns N' Roses was touring either Australia or New Zealand. So that does it for things you may have missed in the Dead Horse video. That's the thing with these videos where they have a lot of like compilations from different shows. There's a lot of little tidbits that you may miss here and there. So that does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you love GNR as much as I do. And go check us out on gnrcentral.com for the latest and greatest Guns N' Roses news. You guys can also go support us on Patreon and check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date on the latest Guns N' Roses news. Take care.
Hey, this is Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses, and you're watching GNR Central. Yeah!